Nikola Tesla's early life unfolded in a world that was still largely untouched by electricity, a world governed by natural rhythms, candlelight, and mechanical labor. He was born in 1856 in a small village in the Austrian Empire, an environment where superstition, religion, and tradition were deeply rooted. This setting played a crucial role in shaping his character because Tesla grew up balancing two powerful influences: a strong spiritual upbringing and an intense fascination with science and logic. His father was a Serbian Orthodox priest, a man of discipline, eloquence, and strict moral structure, who envisioned his son following the same religious path. His mother, by contrast, never received formal education, yet possessed a remarkable intuitive intelligence. She designed and built household tools with her own hands and had an exceptional memory for poetry, stories, and practical problem solving. From her, Tesla inherited not only creativity, but also the idea that invention could arise from necessity and imagination rather than academic training alone. From an unusually young age, Tesla displayed mental abilities that set him apart. He was able to perform complex calculations entirely in his head, visualize objects in 3 dimensions, and recall entire books after reading them once. These talents were accompanied by intense sensory experiences. Tesla later described vivid flashes of light, intrusive images, and powerful visualizations that appeared unbidden in his mind. Rather than weakening him, these experiences trained him to develop extraordinary mental discipline. He learned to control these internal images, turning what might have been overwhelming sensations into tools for invention. This ability to simulate reality in his imagination became one of his defining strengths, allowing him to design machines without drawings, blueprints, or physical prototypes. Tesla's childhood was also marked by hardship and emotional trauma. His older brother, whom the family considered exceptionally gifted, died in a tragic accident when Tesla was still young. This loss left a profound psychological impact. Tesla lived with the constant awareness of expectations and comparison, feeling both driven to excel and burdened by a sense of replacement. This internal pressure likely fueled his relentless pursuit of intellectual perfection and achievement. He developed an intense work ethic, often studying for hours without rest, driven by a need to prove himself not only to others but to his own conscience. Education played a central role in shaping Tesla's worldview. He excelled in mathematics and physics, often astonishing his teachers with solutions that appeared impossible to them. At times, instructors accused him of cheating because they could not comprehend how he arrived at answers so quickly. Tesla's mind did not move step by step, it leaped. He did not merely learn formulas, he saw how they interacted, how forces balanced and transformed into one another. This conceptual understanding laid the groundwork for his later breakthroughs in electrical engineering. However, Tesla's academic path was not smooth. He struggled with authority and rigid systems that failed to recognize unconventional intelligence. While studying engineering, he became increasingly frustrated with what he saw as inefficient, poorly designed electrical machinery. Even as a student, he identified fundamental flaws in direct current systems, recognizing their limitations long before he had the opportunity to address them professionally. This early dissatisfaction was not arrogance but vision. Tesla could see possibilities others could not, and this difference often isolated him. Tesla's personal habits also began forming during these years. He developed strict routines, extreme discipline, and an intense focus that bordered on obsession. He was known to sleep very little, sometimes working through the night without fatigue. At the same time, he displayed a deep sensitivity to disorder, noise, and inefficiency. These traits, while contributing to his productivity, also made social relationships difficult. Tesla was not indifferent to people, but his mind was oriented toward ideas rather than emotional exchange. This pattern would continue throughout his life, shaping both his successes and his isolation. As Tesla matured, his ambition grew beyond local achievement. He was not content with improving existing systems, he wanted to redesign the foundations of technology itself. This desire drove him to leave his homeland and seek opportunities where innovation was advancing rapidly. His journey across Europe exposed him to emerging electrical industries and reinforced his belief that electricity was the defining force of the future. Everywhere he went, he observed the same inefficiencies repeated, the same short-term thinking applied to long-term problems. These observations sharpened his resolve to pursue ideas that others dismissed as impractical or impossible. One of the most critical developments of Tesla's early life was his philosophical approach to invention. He believed that nature operated according to elegant principles, and that human technology should align with those principles rather than fight against them. This belief distinguished him from many inventors who focused solely on immediate functionality or profit. Tesla sought harmony between science and nature, efficiency and beauty, power and balance. This mindset guided his lifelong fascination with frequencies, waves, and resonance, concepts he saw as universal laws governing both physical and biological systems. Tesla's formative years also instilled in him a complex relationship with ambition and humility. While he possessed supreme confidence in his ideas, he did not seek dominance over others. He believed knowledge belonged to humanity, not individuals. This perspective, shaped early in life, later influenced his decisions to give away patents and forego wealth. For Tesla, success was measured not in money or recognition, but in contribution to human progress. By the time Tesla entered adulthood, the foundation of his genius was already fully formed. His extraordinary mental abilities, shaped by childhood discipline, emotional loss, intellectual curiosity, and exposure to both spiritual and scientific thinking, created a mind uniquely suited to revolutionize technology. He did not emerge suddenly as a great inventor. He was built slowly through years of intense inner development. Every later achievement, every breakthrough in electrical engineering and beyond, can be traced back to these early experiences that taught him how to think, how to endure, and how to see the unseen forces shaping the world. This early phase of Tesla's life was not merely preparation, it was a blueprint. It established the patterns of solitude, obsession, vision, and sacrifice that defined his entire existence. Long before the world recognized his name, Nikola Tesla had already become what he would always be, a mind tuned to currents invisible to others, shaped by a childhood that taught him to live inside ideas long before he changed the world with them. As Tesla moved beyond his earliest formative years, the intellectual traits that defined him began to intensify rather than soften. His mind was not content with theoretical understanding alone, it demanded application, proof, and transformation of ideas into reality. During this phase of his life, he became increasingly aware that his way of thinking placed him outside the norm. He did not process problems incrementally like most engineers of his era. Instead, he perceived entire systems at once, seeing how components interacted before a single piece was built. This holistic thinking made him impatient with conventional instruction and increasingly dissatisfied with institutions that valued memorization over insight. Tesla's time in higher education further exposed the tension between brilliance and conformity. While he excelled academically, his perfectionism and extreme mental focus often clashed with rigid academic structures. He pushed himself relentlessly, sometimes studying from early morning until late at night, driven by an internal pressure that went far beyond grades or approval. This intensity took a toll on his health, leading to periods of exhaustion and illness. Yet even during physical weakness, his mind remained active, continuously refining ideas and questioning accepted principles. For Tesla, rest was not the absence of work. It was merely a different state of thinking. One of the most defining experiences of this period was Tesla's growing fixation on the inefficiencies of electrical machinery. He observed that many devices relied on brute force rather than intelligent design, wasting energy and producing unnecessary heat and friction. This offended his sense of elegance and order. He believed that true engineering should mirror nature, where energy flowed smoothly and systems operated with minimal loss. This belief was not merely technical, it was philosophical. Tesla saw inefficiency as a sign of incomplete understanding, and he felt compelled to correct it. This internal drive coincided with a deepening sense of isolation. While others socialized, pursued careers, or sought stability, Tesla lived almost entirely in the realm of ideas. He was courteous, articulate, and capable of charm, yet he remained emotionally distant. Relationships, whether romantic or platonic, often faded as his focus returned to invention. This was not a rejection of humanity, but a sacrifice he seemed to accept instinctively. Tesla viewed himself as a conduit for ideas rather than their owner, a role that required solitude and detachment. As he entered the professional world, Tesla's early experiences, working with established electrical companies, further shaped his outlook. He encountered environments where profit, speed, and competition mattered more than scientific truth. Promises were made casually, credit was disputed, and innovation was often secondary to business strategy. These encounters reinforced his skepticism toward authority and deepened his resolve to trust only empirical results and mathematical certainty. Tesla learned quickly that being right did not guarantee being supported, and that revolutionary ideas often threatened those invested in existing systems. This realization sharpened Tesla's independence. He became increasingly self-reliant, not only intellectually but emotionally. Failure, rejection, and misunderstanding did not discourage him, they refined him. Each setback strengthened his belief that progress required resilience and unwavering commitment to principle. He began to see struggle as an inevitable companion to originality. Rather than seeking validation, he learned to measure success internally, by the clarity of his vision and the soundness of his reasoning. Tesla's mental discipline, during this period, reached extraordinary levels. He trained himself to control impulses, suppress distractions, and channel energy entirely into thought. He developed rigid routines, precise habits, and an almost ascetic lifestyle. These behaviors were not quirks but strategies. Tesla understood that his mind was his most valuable instrument, and he protected it fiercely. He avoided excess, emotional entanglements, and anything that might disrupt his concentration. This self-imposed structure allowed him to work with astonishing intensity for extended periods. At the same time, Tesla's imagination expanded beyond immediate engineering problems to broader questions about humanity and the universe. He became fascinated with waves, vibrations, and resonance, seeing them as fundamental principles underlying all phenomena. To Tesla, electricity was not merely a tool, but a window into deeper laws of nature. He believed that understanding these laws could unlock solutions to problems far beyond power generation, including communication, medicine, and even human behavior. These ideas, radical at the time, positioned him not just as an engineer, but as a visionary thinker. This stage of Tesla's life also revealed his complex relationship with suffering. Physical discomfort, loneliness, and financial instability were constants, yet he rarely complained. He appeared to accept hardship as the price of insight. Tesla seemed to believe that comfort dulled perception, while struggle sharpened it. This belief may explain why he often refused opportunities that promised wealth at the expense of creative freedom. For him, independence of thought was non-negotiable. Tesla's early adulthood thus became a crucible in which his character was fully forged. The traits seeded in childhood, intense visualization, emotional restraint, moral idealism, and relentless curiosity, solidified into a coherent identity. He was no longer simply a gifted individual, he was a force of focused intention. Every experience, whether encouraging or hostile, contributed to a singular purpose: to understand and harness the invisible forces governing the world. By the time Tesla stood on the threshold of his greatest achievements, his inner world was already complete. The innovations that would later astonish the world were not sudden flashes of inspiration, but the natural outcome of decades of disciplined thought, sacrifice, and unwavering belief in rational beauty. His early life did not merely influence his inventions, it made them inevitable. Tesla became proof that genius is not only a matter of intellect, but of endurance, solitude, and the courage to think differently in a world that resists change. This phase of his journey closes not with triumph or recognition, but with readiness. Tesla emerged from his early years fully equipped to challenge established systems, confront powerful interests, and redefine the future of technology. Everything that followed, the battles, the breakthroughs, the misunderstandings, rested upon this foundation. Long before history took notice, Nikola Tesla had already committed himself entirely to a path that few could follow and even fewer could understand. The struggle that later became known as the Battle of Currents did not begin as a public conflict, but as a quiet realization inside Tesla's mind that the electrical future being built around him was fundamentally flawed. When Tesla entered the professional world of electrical engineering, direct current was the dominant system. It was already installed in parts of cities, backed by powerful investors, and defended by influential figures who had much to lose if it failed. To most engineers of the time, direct current seemed sufficient. It produced light, powered motors, and worked within limited distances. But to Tesla, it was an incomplete solution, a temporary patch being mistaken for a foundation. Tesla understood electricity not as a commodity, but as a system governed by laws of motion, balance, and efficiency. Direct current flowed in a single direction, which made it difficult to change voltage levels. This limitation meant electricity could not be transmitted over long distances without massive losses. Power stations had to be built close to consumers, infrastructure costs were enormous, and expansion was constrained. Tesla saw this not as a minor inconvenience, but as a structural dead end. He knew that if civilization relied on this system, electrification would remain fragmented and unequal. Alternating current, by contrast, offered a solution that aligned with Tesla's deeper understanding of nature. By reversing direction periodically, alternating current could be transformed easily from high voltage to low voltage using transformers. High voltage meant lower current, and lower current meant less energy lost as heat over long distances. This simple but profound insight meant electricity could be generated far from cities and transmitted efficiently across vast regions. To Tesla, alternating current was not merely better, it was inevitable. The problem was that inevitability did not matter in a world driven by investment, reputation, and fear of disruption. Powerful industrial figures had already committed to direct current systems. Entire companies, patents, and public identities were built around it. Accepting alternating current would mean admitting error, rewriting infrastructure, and surrendering control. As a result, Tesla's ideas were met not with curiosity, but with resistance. What followed was not just a technical debate, but a clash between scientific truth and economic power. Tesla initially attempted to contribute within the existing system, hoping to improve efficiency from the inside. But his suggestions were often ignored or dismissed, not because they were wrong, but because they threatened established interests. This period taught Tesla a painful lesson: innovation does not fail because it lacks merit, it fails because it challenges comfort. Realizing this, Tesla chose a more difficult path. He decided to prove his ideas through undeniable demonstration rather than persuasion. When Tesla began developing practical alternating current motors and generators, he was not simply inventing devices, he was building evidence. These machines operated more smoothly, produced less waste, and scaled more effectively than their direct current counterparts. Tesla's polyphase system, which used multiple alternating currents out of phase with each other, allowed motors to run efficiently without sparks or excessive wear. This was revolutionary. It addressed one of the biggest criticisms of alternating current and removed a major technical obstacle. As alternating current technology matured, the conflict moved into the public sphere. Demonstrations, exhibitions, and debates turned electricity into a spectacle. Fear became a weapon. Opponents of alternating current emphasized its dangers, exaggerating risks to public safety. Electricity itself was still mysterious to the general population, and fear was easy to cultivate. Tesla understood that ignorance, not science, was driving opposition. Rather than retreat, he confronted this fear directly. Tesla famously subjected his own body to high-voltage alternating current in public demonstrations, allowing electricity to pass through him harmlessly. These acts were not reckless stunts, they were carefully calculated demonstrations designed to educate. Tesla showed that alternating current, when properly managed, could be safer than direct current. He illuminated lamps wirelessly, held glowing bulbs in his hands, and used his own body as proof that the new system was controllable. These moments shifted public perception. Electricity was no longer just frightening, it was fascinating. The turning point came when alternating current proved its superiority on a grand scale. Large projects demanded efficient transmission over long distances, something direct current could not deliver. When alternating current systems successfully powered major infrastructure and illuminated entire cities, resistance weakened. Results spoke louder than rhetoric. Investors, governments, and engineers began to recognize that the future could not be built on limitation. Tesla's vision was no longer theoretical, it was operational. Yet the triumph of alternating current was not a personal victory for Tesla in the way most people understand success. He did not emerge wealthy or celebrated in proportion to his contribution. While others capitalized on the system's adoption, Tesla often remained in the background, more concerned with advancing knowledge than securing profit. He saw the victory not as his own, but as a necessary correction in humanity's relationship with energy. The battle of currents revealed something fundamental about Tesla's character. He was not motivated by competition, but by alignment with truth. He did not seek to defeat individuals, he sought to eliminate inefficiency. This made him both powerful and vulnerable. Powerful, because truth ultimately prevails in functional systems. Vulnerable, because truth alone does not protect against exploitation or neglect. The success of alternating current reshaped civilization. It made large-scale electrification possible, enabling factories, transportation systems, hospitals, and homes to function in ways previously unimaginable. Entire regions could be powered from centralized sources. Rural areas could be electrified. Industry could expand without being tethered to local generators. This transformation was so complete that it became invisible. Modern society grew accustomed to abundant electricity without remembering the struggle that made it possible. For Tesla, the battle of currents was not an end, but a beginning. It validated his belief that understanding natural principles deeply could overcome entrenched systems, no matter how powerful. It also reinforced his distrust of institutions driven by profit rather than progress. Having seen how fiercely truth could be resisted, Tesla became even more determined to pursue ideas that lay beyond conventional acceptance. This period also deepened Tesla's isolation. While alternating current spread across the world, Tesla himself moved forward into increasingly ambitious territory. The victory did not bring him peace or stability. It intensified his sense that much more remained to be done. Electricity, in his view, was only one manifestation of a broader universe governed by waves, frequencies, and resonance. Having proven one fundamental truth against opposition, he felt compelled to pursue others, regardless of whether the world was ready. The battle of currents stands as more than a historical episode. It represents a recurring pattern in human progress, visionary ideas confronting established power, scientific understanding clashing with economic inertia, and individuals willing to endure misunderstanding to advance collective knowledge. Tesla did not simply win a technical argument, he altered the trajectory of modern civilization. Every power grid operating today is a quiet continuation of that struggle, a living testament to the moment when efficiency, insight, and courage overcame fear and resistance. In this phase of Tesla's life, the inventor became something larger than his inventions. He became a symbol of what happens when one mind, guided by deep understanding rather than convenience, challenges the assumptions of an entire era. The triumph of alternating current was not inevitable because it existed. It was inevitable because someone was willing to defend it against the weight of the world. As the struggle surrounding electrical systems intensified, Tesla's internal world evolved just as dramatically as the external conflict. The public often framed the battle of currents as a rivalry between technologies, but for Tesla it was a moral and intellectual confrontation. He became increasingly aware that scientific progress was rarely decided by truth alone. It was shaped by fear, misinformation, and the human tendency to defend existing power structures. This realization did not harden him into bitterness. Instead, it clarified his purpose. He accepted that advancing humanity required enduring resistance, misunderstanding, and personal loss. During this period, Tesla refined not only machines but also his philosophy of energy. He began to see alternating current as just one expression of a much broader principle, that nature itself operates through oscillation and balance. Everything vibrates, everything alternates, everything moves in cycles. This insight reinforced his conviction that systems aligned with natural laws would always outperform those imposed through force or convenience. Direct current, in his eyes, was rigid and artificial, while alternating current mirrored the rhythmic patterns found throughout the universe. Tesla's demonstrations became increasingly theatrical, not out of vanity, but necessity. He understood that the public feared what it did not understand, and electricity was still perceived as an invisible threat. By turning science into spectacle, he bridged the gap between abstraction and experience. When people saw lamps glowing without wires or watched Tesla calmly channel powerful currents through his body, fear began to dissolve into curiosity. These moments marked a shift in how society related to technology. Electricity was no longer just a dangerous force controlled by unseen experts. It was something that could be understood, mastered, and trusted. At the same time, Tesla became more aware of the cost of standing alone. While his ideas gained acceptance, alliances remained fragile. Financial backers were cautious, often supportive only when profits were immediate and risks minimal. Tesla's long-term vision did not always align with short-term business goals. He spoke of systems designed for generations, not quarterly returns. This difference created tension and, eventually, separation from those who could have secured his financial stability. Yet Tesla seemed almost indifferent to this outcome. He valued freedom of thought above security, even when that freedom came at a personal cost. The aftermath of the battle of currents left Tesla with a paradoxical legacy. His ideas powered cities, industries, and nations, yet he himself remained somewhat peripheral to the wealth and influence generated by those systems. This did not diminish his sense of accomplishment, but it deepened his skepticism of recognition as a measure of success. Tesla believed that true achievement was silent, embedded in the functioning of the world, rather than celebrated in names or monuments. In this sense, alternating current represented the purest form of victory, essential, invisible, and universally relied upon. The widespread adoption of alternating current also transformed Tesla's ambitions. Having proven that deeply unpopular ideas could prevail through evidence and persistence, he felt emboldened to explore concepts even further beyond conventional acceptance. The experience taught him that resistance was not a signal to stop, but a sign that he was approaching something fundamentally transformative. This mindset would later drive him toward projects that seemed fantastical to others but logical to him, rooted in the same principles that had already reshaped the electrical world. Psychologically, this phase reinforced Tesla's identity as an outsider. He had witnessed how slowly institutions adapt and how aggressively they defend familiarity. Rather than seeking integration into these systems, he embraced his separation from them. Solitude became not a burden, but a strategic advantage. Alone he could think without compromise. Alone he could pursue ideas without dilution. This self-imposed isolation was not born of arrogance but of necessity. Tesla understood that originality rarely survives committees and consensus. The broader impact of alternating current extended far beyond technology. It altered patterns of labor, urban development, and daily life. Factories could operate at unprecedented scales. Transportation systems expanded. Nighttime cities emerged, reshaping social rhythms and economic activity. These changes occurred gradually, almost imperceptibly, yet they marked a decisive shift in human civilization. Tesla rarely commented on these social consequences, but they validated his belief that energy infrastructure shapes human behavior as profoundly as culture or politics. Despite this transformative influence, Tesla remained focused on principles rather than outcomes. He did not see the electrical grid as an endpoint, but as proof that invisible forces could be organized to serve humanity efficiently. This belief fueled his growing interest in wireless transmission, global communication, and energy accessibility. The success of alternating current convinced him that even more ambitious systems could be realized if humanity learned to think in terms of waves rather than wires, resonance rather than resistance. This period also clarified Tesla's relationship with conflict. He did not enjoy confrontation, yet he did not avoid it when necessary. The battle of currents taught him that opposition is often strongest at the moment when change becomes unavoidable. Instead of interpreting hostility as failure, Tesla learned to read it as confirmation that his ideas mattered. This psychological resilience allowed him to continue working, even when support vanished and criticism intensified. The lessons Tesla absorbed during this time extended into his later years, shaping how he approached every subsequent project. He trusted physical laws over opinions, long-term impact over immediate reward, and inner conviction over external approval. These principles, forged in the heat of technological conflict, became the framework through which he evaluated both his work and the world around him. Looking back, the battle of currents was less about alternating versus direct current and more about two competing visions of progress. One sought incremental improvement within existing limits. The other aimed to redesign systems from first principles. Tesla belonged unequivocally to the second vision. He believed that humanity advanced not by refining constraints, but by transcending them. This belief carried him forward into increasingly speculative and ambitious territory where fewer allies awaited him. In the end, the triumph of alternating current did not bring closure to Tesla's journey. It marked a threshold. Having altered the foundation of modern energy, he turned his attention to questions that extended beyond engineering into the nature of communication, consciousness, and the universe itself. The confidence gained through this struggle fueled his willingness to challenge assumptions on an even grander scale. This phase of Tesla's life demonstrates that technological revolutions are not merely technical achievements, they are tests of character. They demand endurance, clarity, and a willingness to be misunderstood. Tesla passed this test not because he sought victory, but because he remained loyal to the logic of nature itself. The currents he harnessed were not only electrical, but psychological and societal, and by navigating them with unwavering focus, he permanently altered the flow of human progress. Nikola Tesla's body of inventions did not emerge as isolated strokes of genius, but as a continuous unfolding of a single, deeply coherent way of seeing the world. Once he had proven the practicality of alternating current, his mind moved rapidly beyond the immediate victory and into a phase of intense creative expansion. This period was marked by an extraordinary flow of ideas, experiments, and patents that would quietly form the backbone of the modern technological world. Tesla was not interested in incremental improvement. He pursued foundational change. Each invention was designed not merely to solve a problem, but to redefine what was possible. One of Tesla's most important contributions during this phase was the development of the polyphase alternating current system. This was not a single device, but an integrated framework of generators, motors, and transmission methods that worked together seamlessly. The polyphase motor, in particular, represented a breakthrough in efficiency and durability. Unlike earlier motors that relied on mechanical switching and produced sparks, Tesla's design used rotating magnetic fields to generate smooth, continuous motion. This principle reduced wear, increased lifespan, and allowed machines to operate at scales previously unimaginable. Today, this same basic design powers industrial machinery, elevators, appliances, and countless systems worldwide. Tesla's approach to invention was profoundly internal. He did not rely heavily on trial and error. Instead, he constructed complete models in his mind, running them mentally under different conditions, observing stress points, inefficiencies, and failures before ever touching physical materials. This method allowed him to move rapidly from concept to functioning prototype with astonishing accuracy. It also meant that many of his ideas existed fully formed long before the world had the tools or imagination to implement them. His notebooks reveal not confusion, but clarity. Systems thought through to their logical conclusion. Beyond motors and power systems, Tesla turned his attention to high-frequency and high-voltage currents. Through extensive experimentation, he discovered that electricity behaved very differently at high frequencies than at low ones. These experiments led to the invention of the Tesla coil, a device capable of generating extremely high voltages at high frequencies. While often associated today with dramatic visual displays, the Tesla coil was originally a serious scientific instrument. It allowed Tesla to explore wireless energy transfer, electromagnetic waves, and resonance in unprecedented ways. These investigations laid groundwork that would later influence radio, television, and wireless communication technologies. Tesla's work in wireless transmission is among his most far-reaching contributions. At a time when communication relied almost entirely on wires, Tesla envisioned information traveling invisibly through space. He demonstrated wireless lighting, remote control, and signal transmission years before these ideas entered mainstream development. In one striking demonstration, Tesla used radio waves to control a small boat remotely, astonishing audiences who struggled to understand how a machine could respond without physical connection. This was not a novelty to Tesla. It was proof that machines could receive, interpret, and respond to signals, an idea that foreshadowed automation, robotics, and modern control systems. Tesla's patents in radio technology reveal a sophisticated understanding of tuned circuits, frequency selection, and signal transmission. While recognition for radio would later be attributed elsewhere, historical analysis shows that Tesla had developed many of the essential principles first. He understood that communication depended on resonance between transmitter and receiver, a concept that became central to all modern wireless systems. To Tesla, radio was not merely about sending messages, it was about synchronizing systems through shared frequencies, a principle he believed applied universally. Lighting was another area transformed by Tesla's work. He explored fluorescent and neon lighting long before they became commercially viable, demonstrating lamps that operated efficiently without excessive heat. He sought lighting systems that were not only brighter and cheaper, but healthier for human environments. Tesla believed that technology should enhance human well-being, not merely productivity. This perspective led him to experiment with full-spectrum light and energy, efficient illumination, ideas that resonate strongly with modern concerns about sustainability and health. Tesla's inventive output also extended into early concepts of medical technology. He explored the effects of electromagnetic fields on the human body, studying how certain frequencies could stimulate tissue, improve circulation, or produce therapeutic effects. While medical science of the time lacked the framework to fully evaluate these ideas, Tesla approached them with caution and curiosity, rather than sensationalism. He believed that energy, properly understood, could be harnessed for healing as well as power. This holistic view distinguished him from inventors who treated technology as purely mechanical. Another critical aspect of Tesla's work during this period was his commitment to system-level thinking. He did not invent devices in isolation. He designed entire ecosystems of technology. Power generation, transmission usage, and control were all interconnected in his mind. This approach allowed him to anticipate problems others encountered only after deployment. Tesla understood that efficiency at one point in a system meant little if losses occurred elsewhere. His inventions consistently aimed to reduce waste, friction, and unnecessary complexity across the whole. Tesla's relationship with patents was complex. He held hundreds, covering a wide range of technologies, yet he did not treat them as instruments of control. He viewed patents as markers of progress rather than tools for exclusion. This attitude contributed to both the rapid spread of his ideas and his personal financial instability. Tesla was more interested in seeing his inventions used than in extracting maximum profit from them. In an era increasingly dominated by corporate ownership of innovation, this stance was both noble and costly. Throughout this creative explosion, Tesla remained remarkably consistent in his underlying philosophy. He believed that the universe operated through laws of harmony, and that human technology should align with those laws. His inventions reflected this belief in their elegance and efficiency. Even when working with immense power, Tesla sought balance rather than domination. He spoke often of resonance, not force, of tuning systems rather than overpowering them. This language reveals how deeply his scientific work was intertwined with his worldview. Public demonstrations played a key role in this phase of Tesla's career. He understood that ideas alone were insufficient. People needed to see and feel the future. His lectures and exhibitions were carefully staged to educate as much as impress. Tesla did not simply present devices, he narrated principles, guiding audiences through invisible phenomena with clarity and confidence. These moments helped shift public perception of electricity from a mysterious danger to a manageable and even elegant force. Despite the brilliance of his work, Tesla often operated at the edge of institutional support. Many of his inventions were too advanced, too disruptive, or too far ahead of market demand to attract sustained backing. This gap between vision and infrastructure would become a recurring theme in his life. Yet during this period, Tesla remained optimistic. He believed that time itself would eventually validate his ideas, even if immediate acceptance proved elusive. What makes this phase of Tesla's career especially significant is not any single invention, but the cumulative effect of his output. He was not reacting to technological trends, he was creating the conceptual framework within which future innovation would occur. Alternating current systems, electric motors, wireless communication, remote control, efficient lighting, and electromagnetic research all converged into a unified vision of a world powered and connected by invisible currents. Tesla's inventions during this period reshaped industry, communication, and daily life in ways that became so fundamental they faded into the background. This invisibility is perhaps the highest form of success. When a technology becomes universal, it ceases to be noticed. Yet behind that normality lies a mind that once dared to imagine it when no such world existed. In this phase of relentless creativity, Tesla demonstrated that invention is not merely about building machines, but about revealing possibilities. He did not invent the future piece by piece. He uncovered it by understanding the principles that govern energy and motion. His work showed that when those principles are respected and applied with discipline, imagination, and courage, they can transform civilization quietly, permanently, and beyond the reach of any single name. As Tesla's inventive momentum continued, the scope of his thinking expanded beyond individual devices into a vision of technological unity. He no longer saw inventions as endpoints, but as expressions of deeper principles that connected mechanics, electricity, communication, and even human perception. This stage of his work revealed a mind operating several layers ahead of his contemporaries. While others focused on improving machines, Tesla focused on improving the relationship between humanity and energy itself. He believed that once the correct principles were understood, countless applications would follow naturally. One of the most striking features of this phase was Tesla's obsession with resonance. He believed resonance was the key to efficiency, power, and harmony in all systems, whether dealing with electrical circuits, mechanical structures, or even the human body. Tesla saw resonance as the condition under which minimal input could produce maximal effect. This idea guided much of his experimentation. He explored how systems could be tuned to specific frequencies, so that energy transfer occurred smoothly rather than forcefully. In his view, brute force engineering was a sign of ignorance, while resonance represented understanding. Tesla's experiments increasingly blurred the boundaries between disciplines. He worked simultaneously as an electrical engineer, physicist, and philosopher of technology. His laboratories became spaces where theory and practice merged seamlessly. Sparks, arcs, oscillations, and waves were not chaotic to him, they were languages. By studying their behavior, Tesla believed he could decode nature's operating system. This belief led him to explore phenomena that others dismissed as impractical or unimportant, simply because they did not fit existing commercial models. During this time, Tesla's public persona grew more complex. To some, he appeared as a brilliant scientist pushing the limits of knowledge. To others, he seemed eccentric, even ungrounded, because he spoke openly about possibilities that sounded implausible. Yet many of the ideas that drew skepticism were grounded in rigorous experimentation. Tesla did not speculate blindly. He tested, measured, observed, and refined. The gap between his ideas and public understanding was not a lack of evidence, but a lack of conceptual readiness. Tesla's work on wireless energy transmission exemplified this gap. He demonstrated that electrical energy could be transmitted through space without wires under certain conditions. While his experiments were limited in scale, they challenged a fundamental assumption of the time that energy required physical conduits. Tesla believed the Earth itself could act as a conductor and that the atmosphere could be used as a medium for transmission. These ideas were revolutionary, but they also required infrastructure, investment, and global coordination far beyond what was available. As a result, many dismissed the concepts not because they were disproven, but because they were inconvenient. This period also highlighted Tesla's unique relationship with failure. Unlike many inventors who treated failure as an endpoint, Tesla viewed it as information. If an experiment did not behave as expected, he did not abandon the principle. He refined his understanding of the conditions. This mindset allowed him to persist where others would have stopped. It also meant that many of his ideas remained unfinished not because they were impossible, but because circumstances intervened before full realization. Tesla's prolific output during this phase came at a personal cost. His focus became so intense that his physical and emotional needs were often neglected. He slept little, ate sparingly, and maintained rigid routines that left little room for rest or companionship. While these habits enhanced his productivity in the short term, they contributed to long-term strain. Tesla appeared aware of this trade-off but accepted it as necessary. He believed that his role was not to live comfortably, but to think clearly. Financial instability became an increasing challenge. Despite holding numerous patents and influencing entire industries, Tesla often lacked steady income. His reluctance to prioritize profit over principle left him vulnerable. Yet even in difficult circumstances, he continued working. This persistence reflected a deeper motivation than success or recognition. Tesla was driven by an internal sense of duty to pursue understanding wherever it led, regardless of personal reward. As his inventions accumulated, Tesla began to sense that his true contribution was not any single device, but a new way of thinking about technology. He emphasized systems, efficiency, sustainability, and alignment with natural laws, concepts that would only gain widespread attention decades later. In this sense, Tesla was not only inventing machines, he was inventing frameworks. These frameworks allowed future engineers and scientists to build technologies he could only partially realize in his lifetime. The reaction of the scientific community during this phase was mixed. Some admired Tesla deeply, recognizing the originality and depth of his work. Others regarded him with skepticism, uncomfortable with ideas that challenged established boundaries. Tesla did not adjust his thinking to gain acceptance. He believed that truth did not require consensus. This independence protected his creativity, but further isolated him from institutions that might have provided long-term support. What stands out most in this period is Tesla's consistency. Despite changing circumstances, shifting public opinion, and personal hardship, his core principles remained intact. He continued to prioritize efficiency over excess, understanding over imitation, and future impact over present approval. This consistency gave his work a coherence that is rare in any era. Even inventions that seemed unrelated shared common underlying assumptions about energy, motion, and harmony. Tesla's inventive phase ultimately reveals a paradox. He was both extraordinarily practical and profoundly visionary. His machines worked, they solved real problems. Yet the ideas behind them often pointed toward futures that society was not ready to build. This tension between immediate utility and long-term vision defined much of his career. It explains both his lasting influence and his frequent marginalization. By the end of this phase, Tesla had already shaped the technological foundations of the modern world. Electric motors, power grids, wireless communication principles, and electromagnetic research all bore his imprint, yet he stood at a crossroads. Having proven his capacity to transform reality, he now faced a world that increasingly struggled to follow the direction of his thinking. This growing distance between his vision and society's readiness would define the next chapters of his life. In retrospect, this period represents the height of Tesla's creative power and clarity. It was a time when imagination, discipline, and knowledge converged into sustained innovation. The world absorbed the results gradually, often without acknowledging their source. But beneath everyday technologies lies the enduring presence of a mind that refused to think small. Tesla's inventions were not accidents of genius. They were the inevitable outcome of a worldview that sought to understand energy at its deepest level and apply that understanding for the advancement of humanity. As Tesla's reputation grew, so did the contradiction at the center of his life. He was becoming one of the most influential minds shaping modern technology, yet his personal relationship with money and recognition remained distant, almost indifferent. Unlike many inventors of his era, Tesla did not measure success by wealth or public acclaim. He viewed invention as a responsibility rather than a commercial opportunity, and this belief profoundly shaped the course of his life. While others used innovation to build fortunes and institutions, Tesla pursued ideas with little concern for how they would be monetized or credited. From early on, Tesla demonstrated an unusual lack of attachment to financial gain. He often trusted business partners without legal protection, assuming that scientific merit and fairness would prevail. In several pivotal moments, he chose intellectual freedom over contractual security. He willingly surrendered potential royalties from his most important work, believing that widespread adoption of his ideas mattered more than personal enrichment. This decision, noble in intent, had long-term consequences. Technologies that transformed industries generated immense wealth, yet Tesla remained largely excluded from that prosperity. Recognition followed a similarly uneven path. Tesla was admired in certain scientific and intellectual circles, yet he was often overshadowed in public narratives by figures who were more skilled at self-promotion or business strategy. Tesla did not cultivate influence or alliances strategically. He assumed that the value of his work would speak for itself. While this was true in the long run, it left him vulnerable in the short term. In a world increasingly shaped by corporations and media, merit alone was rarely enough to secure lasting visibility. Despite this, Tesla did experience periods of fame. His public demonstrations, lectures, and bold predictions captured widespread attention. Newspapers portrayed him as a wizard of electricity, a man who seemed to command invisible forces. Yet this fame was fragile and often superficial. The public celebrated spectacle more than substance, and as Tesla's ideas grew more abstract and long-term, attention waned. When he shifted from practical systems to visionary concepts that required patience and infrastructure, enthusiasm gave way to skepticism. Tesla's indifference to wealth was not born of nalar vitae. He understood the power of money and influence, but he believed they distorted scientific purpose when pursued as ends in themselves. He feared that commercialization without understanding would lead to inefficient, harmful, or exploitative systems. This belief made him cautious, sometimes to his detriment. He preferred to work alone rather than compromise principles for funding. While this preserved the integrity of his ideas, it isolated him from the networks that could have sustained his projects. As time passed, the gap between Tesla's contributions and his material circumstances widened. He lived modestly, often relying on limited support while continuing to generate ideas that shaped entire industries. This contrast became one of the most striking aspects of his life. It challenged conventional assumptions about success and forced observers to confront an uncomfortable truth: transformative impact does not guarantee personal security. Tesla's life exposed the tension between innovation and reward in a system that prioritizes ownership over insight. Tesla's relationship with recognition also reflected his complex personality. He was articulate, charismatic, and capable of captivating audiences, yet he avoided deep engagement with institutions. He did not enjoy the politics of credit and competition. When disputes over priority arose, Tesla rarely fought publicly, even when evidence supported his claims. He seemed more interested in moving forward than in revisiting past battles. This forward-looking nature, while admirable, allowed others to shape historical narratives in ways that minimized his role. Emotionally, this phase of Tesla's life was marked by a quiet resilience. He did not express bitterness or resentment, even as opportunities slipped away. Instead, he redirected his energy into thought and experimentation. Tesla appeared to accept sacrifice as an inherent part of his path. He believed that someone had to prioritize the future over personal comfort, and he was willing to be that person. This mindset gave him inner stability, even as external circumstances grew uncertain. Tesla's stance toward fame and money also influenced how his work was remembered. Because he did not anchor his legacy through institutions, companies, or sustained financial power, his contributions became diffuse. They spread through the world embedded in systems rather than attached to his name. While this reduced his visibility, it ensured that his ideas were integrated deeply into technological practice. In a sense, Tesla became omnipresent yet anonymous. His influence felt everywhere but acknowledged infrequently. This phase reveals Tesla as a figure fundamentally out of sync with the economic logic of his time. He operated according to values that prioritized knowledge, harmony, and long-term benefit over immediate gain. These values placed him at odds with an era increasingly defined by industrial competition and profit-driven innovation. Tesla did not reject the world, he simply refused to adapt his thinking to its narrow definitions of success. In the end, Tesla's relationship with wealth and recognition serves as a mirror reflecting broader questions about how societies value creativity and vision. His life asks whether progress should be measured by accumulation or contribution, by ownership or impact. Tesla chose impact, even when that choice led to personal hardship. His legacy, though delayed and often misunderstood, stands as evidence that the most profound contributions to humanity are not always rewarded in their own time, and that true influence can exist independently of fame and fortune. As Tesla moved deeper into the later stages of his career, his ideas began to stretch far beyond the technological horizon of his era. He was no longer satisfied with improving existing systems or even inventing new ones within familiar boundaries. Instead, his thinking expanded toward possibilities that challenged the very assumptions underlying science and society. Many of these ideas seemed implausible or even fantastical to his contemporaries, yet they were rooted in the same principles that had already transformed electricity and communication. Tesla's visionary concepts reveal a mind that operated not only ahead of its time, but in a different temporal dimension altogether. One of Tesla's most persistent beliefs was that energy could be transmitted wirelessly on a global scale. He envisioned a world where power and information flowed freely through the Earth and atmosphere, accessible to anyone, anywhere. This idea was not a vague dream, it was based on Tesla's understanding of resonance, electromagnetic waves, and the conductive properties of the planet itself. He believed the Earth could be treated as a giant electrical circuit, capable of distributing energy efficiently if properly tuned. While the infrastructure required to test this vision fully did not exist, the underlying concepts anticipated modern wireless communication and energy research. Tesla also imagined a future defined by instant global communication. Long before satellites, fiber optics, or digital networks, he described systems that would allow people to exchange information across vast distances in real time. He spoke of portable devices capable of receiving news, music, and messages from anywhere in the world. At the time, such predictions sounded extravagant, yet these ideas align closely with the modern internet, mobile communication, and wireless media. Tesla did not predict specific technologies. He predicted patterns of use and connection that would later define everyday life. Automation and robotics occupied another significant place in Tesla's vision. His demonstration of remote, controlled machines was more than a technical novelty. It was a philosophical statement. Tesla believed machines could be designed to respond intelligently to external signals, reducing the need for dangerous or repetitive human labor. He foresaw autonomous systems operating with precision and reliability, guided by logical control rather than human intervention. This anticipation of automation raised ethical questions that Tesla took seriously. He believed that freeing humans from mechanical toil would allow society to focus on creativity, learning, and higher pursuits. Tesla's visionary thinking extended into the realm of energy sustainability. He expressed concern about waste, inefficiency, and the long-term consequences of careless resource exploitation. He believed humanity's survival depended on learning to harness natural forces without exhausting them. Solar energy, atmospheric electricity, and renewable sources fascinated him because they aligned with his belief in abundance rather than scarcity. Tesla did not frame sustainability in modern environmental terms, but his ideas reflect a deep awareness of balance between technology and nature. Perhaps the most controversial of Tesla's visionary ideas involved powerful energy-based weapons and defensive systems. He spoke of technologies capable of neutralizing aggression by making warfare impractical. While some interpreted these ideas as dangerous or unrealistic, Tesla viewed them as deterrents rather than instruments of destruction. He believed that technological progress could eventually eliminate war by removing the incentives and capabilities that made it viable. This belief reflects his broader conviction that science, if guided by ethical purpose, could reshape human behavior as well as material conditions. Tesla also speculated about the relationship between energy and life itself. He believed that understanding electromagnetic principles could unlock new insights into biology, health, and consciousness. While modern science approaches these areas with caution, Tesla's curiosity foreshadowed interdisciplinary research exploring bioelectricity and neural signaling. He did not claim mystical powers. He sought measurable interactions between energy and living systems. This willingness to explore beyond conventional boundaries contributed both to his originality and to skepticism surrounding his work. As Tesla's ideas grew more ambitious, the gap between his vision and public understanding widened. Many of his concepts required levels of coordination, funding, and scientific maturity that did not yet exist. Without institutional support, these ideas remained largely theoretical. Critics labeled him impractical, while supporters struggled to translate his vision into actionable projects. Tesla appeared untroubled by this disconnect. He believed that ideas often precede their realization by decades or centuries, and that patience was essential. This phase of Tesla's life illustrates the loneliness of extreme foresight. He could see futures that others could not yet imagine, and this clarity isolated him. Conversations that energized him confused or alarmed others. Yet he continued to articulate his ideas, documenting them in lectures, articles, and interviews. In doing so, he planted intellectual seeds that would later find fertile ground in new generations of scientists and engineers. Tesla's visionary ideas were not escapism, they were extensions of his core principles. He believed that technology should reduce suffering, increase access to knowledge, and align humanity more closely with natural laws. His visions were ambitious because he believed human potential was vast, limited only by understanding and cooperation. He rejected the notion that scarcity and conflict were inevitable, arguing instead that intelligent application of energy could create abundance and stability. In retrospect, many of Tesla's most daring ideas appear less unrealistic than premature. Modern developments in wireless power transfer, renewable energy, automation, artificial intelligence, and global communication echo themes Tesla explored conceptually. While not all of his visions have been realized, their influence persists in the questions they raise and the directions they suggest. This phase of Tesla's life reveals him not merely as an inventor, but as a futurist in the deepest sense. He did not attempt to predict gadgets, he attempted to understand trajectories. He looked at the fundamental forces shaping civilization and asked how they might evolve if guided by reason and ethics. In doing so, he expanded the scope of technological imagination and challenged humanity to think beyond immediate constraints. Tesla's visionary ideas remind us that progress is not always linear or immediately practical. Some ideas exist to prepare minds rather than build machines. They stretch the boundaries of possibility and inspire future exploration. Tesla accepted that his role was not to see every vision realized, but to open pathways others might one day follow. His legacy in this realm lies not in completed projects, but in expanded horizons that continue to influence how humanity imagines its future. As the years passed, the same qualities that had once fueled Tesla's greatest breakthroughs began to contribute to his isolation. His relentless focus, uncompromising principles, and visionary thinking placed him increasingly at odds with a world that was moving toward consolidation, commercialization, and institutional control of science. While technology advanced rapidly, it did so along paths that favored short-term practicality and profit, leaving little room for ideas that required patience, coordination, or radical restructuring. Tesla found himself standing apart, not because his ideas had failed, but because the world had changed around him. Tesla's later years were marked by a gradual withdrawal from mainstream scientific and industrial circles. Funding became scarce as investors sought safer, more predictable returns. Projects that lacked immediate application were dismissed, regardless of their potential. Tesla, unwilling to simplify or dilute his ideas to meet these expectations, continued working largely alone. This solitude was not accidental. He believed that independent thought was essential to genuine discovery, even if it meant sacrificing support and recognition. Public perception of Tesla also shifted during this period. Once celebrated as a pioneer of electricity, he was increasingly portrayed as eccentric, even unstable. Media coverage focused on his unusual habits, rigid routines, and bold claims rather than the substance of his work. This caricature obscured the depth of his understanding and reinforced skepticism toward his later ideas. Tesla rarely responded to such portrayals. He seemed to accept misunderstanding as an inevitable consequence of thinking beyond contemporary frameworks. Living conditions reflected this decline in public and financial support. Tesla resided in modest hotel rooms, often relying on limited stipends or assistance from a small circle of admirers. Despite these constraints, he maintained dignity and intellectual discipline. His lifestyle remained simple, structured, and focused on thought rather than comfort. He continued to write, calculate, and reflect, even as opportunities to test his ideas experimentally diminished. Isolation did not extinguish Tesla's curiosity. He continued to explore questions about energy, waves, and the universe, refining concepts internally even when external validation was absent. This inward turn reveals a crucial aspect of his character. His work was not dependent on applause. Tesla derived satisfaction from understanding itself. He believed that truth existed independently of recognition, and that ideas retained value even if they were ignored. The psychological toll of this isolation, however, was real. Tesla's world narrowed as collaborators, patrons, and peers faded away. He remained polite and articulate in public, but his social interactions grew limited. The absence of sustained dialogue with equals likely intensified his sense of being misunderstood. Yet Tesla did not express bitterness. Instead, he appeared resigned, accepting solitude as the cost of a path few were willing or able to follow. As Tesla aged, his health declined, further limiting his ability to experiment physically. Nevertheless, his mind remained active. He continued to analyze problems conceptually, relying on the same mental visualization techniques developed in his youth. This mental continuity highlights the depth of his internal world. Even without laboratories or resources, Tesla's thinking retained structure and purpose. He did not abandon science, he adapted his engagement with it. The culmination of this period was Tesla's death in 1943, alone in a hotel room, far removed from the industrial triumphs his ideas had enabled. The circumstances of his death reinforced the narrative of the forgotten genius, a figure whose contributions were recognized too late to alter his personal circumstances. Yet this narrative, while poignant, risks oversimplifying his life. Tesla was not merely a victim of neglect, he was a man who consciously chose independence over accommodation. The decline of Tesla's public standing reflects broader tensions in how societies treat unconventional thinkers. Systems designed to reward incremental improvement often struggle to support radical vision. Tesla's isolation illustrates how innovation can be constrained not by lack of insight, but by misalignment with institutional priorities. His experience serves as a cautionary example of what can be lost when imagination outpaces infrastructure. Despite the hardships of his final years, Tesla's intellectual legacy remained intact. He did not recant his ideas or express regret for the choices he made. He continued to believe that humanity would eventually revisit and understand the principles he explored. This long-term perspective allowed him to endure obscurity with quiet resilience. He saw himself as part of a continuum of thinkers whose work would be fully appreciated only when the world caught up. Tesla's decline was therefore not a collapse of ability, but a divergence between vision and environment. His mind remained expansive even as his circumstances contracted. This contrast underscores the tragic and inspiring dimensions of his life. It reveals a person committed to truth over comfort, understanding over acceptance, and future possibility over present security. In reflecting on this phase, Tesla emerges as a symbol of misunderstood genius, not because his ideas were irrational, but because they demanded a level of patience and cooperation that society could not yet provide. His isolation was the price of originality in an era unprepared for its consequences. Yet within that isolation lay a powerful message that the value of a life dedicated to knowledge cannot be measured solely by recognition or material success. Tesla's final years remind us that progress is uneven, and that those who push its boundaries often do so at personal cost. His story challenges us to consider how we support visionary thinkers and whether our systems are capable of nurturing ideas that do not fit immediate expectations. Tesla's solitude was profound, but so was his conviction that understanding would endure beyond his lifetime, waiting for a world ready to receive it. Nikola Tesla's legacy does not reside in monuments, vast fortunes, or institutions bearing his name. It lives instead in the invisible infrastructure of the modern world, woven so deeply into everyday life that it is often taken for granted. Long after his death, the true scale of his influence has become increasingly clear, as technologies he pioneered or anticipated now shape nearly every aspect of human civilization. Tesla's relevance today is not a matter of historical nostalgia. It is a living presence in the way energy is generated, transmitted, and understood. The most immediate and enduring aspect of Tesla's legacy is the global electrical system. Alternating current remains the backbone of power generation and distribution worldwide. Every time electricity travels across long distances, steps down in voltage to enter a home, or powers industrial machinery, it follows principles Tesla established. These systems are so reliable and ubiquitous that their revolutionary nature has faded from public consciousness. Yet without Tesla's insight into efficient transmission, modern urban life as it exists would be impossible. Cities, industries, healthcare, and digital infrastructure all depend on the foundation he helped create. Tesla's influence extends equally into communication. Wireless technology, once considered speculative, now defines modern existence. Radio, television, mobile networks, and wireless data transmission all rest on principles Tesla explored in his experiments with electromagnetic waves and resonance. While technological implementation evolved over time, the conceptual leap, the idea that information could travel invisibly through space, was one Tesla articulated and demonstrated early. In an era defined by instant global connectivity, his thinking appears remarkably prescient. Beyond specific technologies, Tesla's legacy includes a way of thinking about innovation itself. He approached problems from first principles, seeking fundamental understanding rather than superficial solutions. This mindset has become increasingly important in a world facing complex challenges such as energy sustainability, climate change, and technological ethics. Tesla believed that efficiency, harmony, and alignment with natural laws were not optional ideals but necessary conditions for long-term progress. His emphasis on system-level thinking resonates strongly with modern engineering and scientific practices. Tesla also left a philosophical legacy concerning the purpose of technology. He consistently argued that innovation should serve humanity as a whole, not narrow interests. This belief is reflected in contemporary debates about access to energy, information equity, and the social responsibility of scientists and engineers. Tesla's reluctance to restrict knowledge through excessive control or profit seeking aligns with modern movements advocating open science and collaborative development. His life raises enduring questions about who benefits from technological progress and how those benefits are distributed. In cultural terms, Tesla has become a symbol of visionary creativity and misunderstood genius. His story is often invoked to highlight the tension between originality and recognition, between long-term impact and short-term reward. This symbolic role has inspired generations of scientists, engineers, and thinkers who see in Tesla a model of intellectual courage. He represents the idea that true innovation may not be immediately rewarded, but can reshape the world quietly and irreversibly. Tesla's relevance is also evident in emerging fields. Research into wireless power transfer, renewable energy, electric transportation, and smart grids echoes themes Tesla explored conceptually. Advances in robotics, automation, and artificial intelligence reflect his early insights into machine control and autonomy. Even interdisciplinary studies examining bioelectricity and neural signaling touch upon questions Tesla raised about the relationship between energy and life. While modern science approaches these areas with tools and frameworks unavailable to Tesla, the curiosity driving them follows paths he helped map. The reassessment of Tesla's contributions over time illustrates how historical understanding evolves. Ideas once dismissed as impractical are now revisited with renewed respect. This shift underscores an important aspect of Tesla's legacy: timing. Many of his concepts were not wrong, they were premature. As technology and scientific understanding advance, society becomes better equipped to evaluate and implement ideas that once seemed unreachable. Tesla's work reminds us that innovation often outpaces the conditions needed for its realization. Tesla's life also offers lessons about resilience and integrity. He remained committed to his principles despite financial hardship, isolation, and misrepresentation. This commitment did not guarantee personal comfort, but it ensured coherence between his values and actions. In an age where scientific work is increasingly influenced by commercial and political pressures, Tesla's example challenges individuals to consider what they are willing to compromise and what they are not. Importantly, Tesla's legacy is not static. It continues to grow as new generations reinterpret his work and ideas. Museums, research institutions, and educational programs now study Tesla not only for his technical achievements, but for his approach to problem-solving and imagination. Popular culture has revived interest in his life, sometimes mythologizing him, but also prompting deeper inquiry into his actual contributions. This renewed attention has helped restore balance to historical narratives and highlight the collaborative, cumulative nature of progress. Tesla's enduring relevance lies in his ability to bridge imagination and rigor. He demonstrated that visionary thinking does not require abandoning scientific discipline. On the contrary, his boldest ideas were grounded in careful observation and deep understanding of physical laws. This balance remains essential today as society navigates rapidly evolving technologies with profound ethical and environmental implications. In the final analysis, Tesla's legacy is measured not by what he personally achieved, but by what humanity continues to achieve using principles he helped uncover. His work enabled systems that operate quietly in the background of daily life, shaping how people live, communicate, and interact with the world. His ideas continue to inspire exploration beyond conventional limits, encouraging thinkers to ask not only what is possible now, but what might become possible in the future. Nikola Tesla stands as a reminder that the most transformative contributions often emerge from those willing to think differently, endure misunderstanding, and prioritize long-term benefit over immediate reward. His relevance today affirms that true innovation does not belong to its own time alone. It belongs to all future moments in which its principles are rediscovered, applied, and extended.